All right, the time is 6:30 and a quorum being present, I call this meeting to order. There are no minutes to be approved this week, so we can skip right to agenda item A. This is a public hearing, abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for Norse Environmental Services, Inc. on behalf of Ivan Cormier Construction Corp., 1596 Andover Street, DEP file number 305-1194. Could you please introduce yourself for the record? And then the floor is yours.
Sure. Good evening. Maureen Harold, Norse Environmental Services, here on behalf of the applicant. So the last time I was in front of the commission, I submitted a package with supplemental material that I discussed with the commission at the last hearing. And then we were waiting on the peer review from Bill Manuel. I believe that's in your packet and was distributed as well. Lastly, I checked the Massachusetts Drought Status Report regarding the stream status. I'm asking the commission to determine the perennial stream that's shown on the USGS topo map as intermittent. And as of July 15th, we are in a non-drought period with normal conditions. And I have copies of that if you'd like to see it. I can pass it out. Up to the commission.
I believe we all have
Okay.
the copies emailed to us, so I think we're all set, but thank you very much for that.
Sure. And I can open it up to the commission with any questions.
So yeah, the only new material is the letter from the third-party consultant. If there's any questions or discussion about that, feel free. Not hearing anything. Do we have any additional information that you'd like to discuss? All right. All right. Let me see. This is a public meeting, so if anybody would, from the public would like to get up and make a comment, now is the time to do so. I'll give you a few seconds. Not seeing anybody rise, could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And could I have a motion to approve the abbreviated notice of resource area delineation?
No, I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Next item is agenda item B, public hearing, a request for determination of applicability for Russell Byron, 20 Susan Drive. Would you please introduce yourself for the record?
Hello, everyone. My name is Russell Byron, second-year resident of Tewksbury. The application is for the process of removing trees on our property. They are overhanging the house currently and raises a issue of safety, which is the reason for this removal.
All right, so the tree removal area PDF that we have, the overhead, the map, I think I counted 17 trees in total.
We don't know the confirmed amount. We're currently probably a little bit less than that. It's just more of the significant area around the house. That was just more of a first time go around with the looking through things.
All right, so there's I think 11 larger circles. I'm assuming those are trees.
Yeah.
And then the other ones are small. There's one red dot.
I'm guessing you're looking at the ones with white dots and a pink dot?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that was a maybe. The pink dot was more of a maybe tree that might be
All
taken
right.
down. There's the circles that you see currently on the graph, those are the most likely. The ones in the front of the house would most definitely would be, and then there's most likely the areas around it. The white dots were more just like a temporary, more of a That's what the first time go around we were looking at when we were looking at the house and areas around it. So most likely that would be most of them, but not probably all of those areas.
All right. And then if anybody on the commission has any questions or comments?
Are you planning on grinding the stumps?
Stumps, yes, only in the front of the house and only in the areas that would cause harm for anyone, such as physical activity or things like that. I do not plan to grind any stumps that are within the backyard or anywhere in that area, so the stumps would stay there. So it'd just be the front and the side, but not within the area in which no activity is given.
All right, so looking at the proposed special conditions, one of them is that the applicant shall leave the tree stumps in place. So I guess I want to be clear about what leaving the stumps actually means, of grinding them down to be level with the surrounding, grass or the yard.
yeah.
Not actually removing all of the root system and stuff that would stay
Yeah,
in
so
place.
the roots, we wouldn't take any of the stumps, we wouldn't grind the area in the back, which has most of the wetlands. It would just be the front yard, any of the trees in the front that cause of most traffic. So the ones where it would be within the dip, I know you can't see on the map, but in the backyard, there's a dip from the backyard, which then starts a little bit, and then the wetlands. Where the dip is, that's where we would keep the stumps and things like that, so all the roots would stay there and everything like that. It's only about the 4 or 5 trees in the front yard, and then 2 on the right. So when we wouldn't remove any of the stumps in the backyard or anything like that.
All right, so we're, as long as we're talking about the proposed special conditions, I just want to read these out. One is, the applicant shall install and maintain perimeter controls around the area of work to prevent the deposition of debris from tree cutting activities into nearby resource areas. Perimeter controls shall remain in place until all areas erodible materials have been stabilized at the site. And then the applicant shall leave the tree stumps in place after the trees have been cut down and remove any debris resulting from the tree cutting for the larger trees, and the applicant shall remove the tree stumps and remove any debris resulting from the tree cutting and stump removal work from the smaller trees. That, you agree that that's
Yeah,
the plan?
that makes sense, yeah.
And so, I don't know, do we want to put an exact number? Typically, on the amount of trees, we go a little bit above what is asked, just in case you run into a tree that, you didn't realize needs to be cut down.
What's worst case?
Oh, God. I mean, we're only planning, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 in the front, 2 on the right. If I'm looking at the street, like if you're looking at that's the house.
Yep.
There's 4 in the front, 2 on the left, 2 or 3 that are giant ones on the over here on the right side, and then in the back there's only 2. There's a couple of small ones, and then there's one near my neighbor's house that is most likely on our property. That causes a danger of, if a tree limb falls off, something can happen to their property. So it's mostly just those 4, 2 over there, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, probably 15 or less.
All right.
You could just say within the circles designated on the map, because that's 18,
All
and
right.
it covers larger areas too.
All right, yeah.
Yeah,
Do you want
I
to?
like that. I like that.
And if when doing this, you do find a tree that you didn't realize is in danger of falling down or something like that, before cutting it down, just contact, the conservation agent, and, it might require another site visit or something like that, but just
Yeah,
as long as we're all informed about it.
Yes, sir.
All right. So if that's the case, this is a public hearing. If there's anybody, unless there's any further questions or comments from the commission.
good.
All right, this is a public hearing. If there's anybody who would like to make a comment, now is the time to do so. I see we have one person getting up. Please introduce yourself for the record.
Good evening.
Jonathan Champa, 21 Susan Drive. I live across from Russell and Christine. I just wanted to say we've had significant tree, I don't know if you'd call it activity, but during a number of storms, whether due to wind or snow, we've had a lot of limbs come down. We had for our little neighborhood, a significant incident where like almost like half a tree came down and blocked the road, and 3 of us were out there with chainsaws, like clearing it out. So I just wanted to say, in our neighborhood, they're very old trees. They've gotten very tall in the past 20 years since I've lived there. And this is just very much common sense. The trees are starting to overgrow, and the way the limbs have been coming down. I don't want to bring you like a wild story, but my daughter was out helping me snowblow, and I heard the crack of a limb that was coming down right at the edge of my driveway, and I just ran around, and luckily it was a lot further away. It just sounded louder, but things really are happening. So I just wanted to say that we, as neighbors, we endorse this, and I think it'd be a really good idea. So just appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, Tewksbury recently became a tree city, so we want to promote trees, but they do
Oh, yeah.
like, it's hard to,
can
when
understand.
something's leaning,
Yeah.
across somebody's house, it's hard to deny that.
I used to live in Groton, and it's lots of tree areas, so I can understand that.
And hopefully with at least the recent storm, hopefully all the trees that would have come down during a snowstorm have already come down and doesn't, cause any further issues later in the year. All right, if there's nobody else from the public who wants to make a comment, I will entertain a motion to close this public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye as well. And could I have a motion for a negative determination of applicability as discussed at this meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Next item on the agenda is Agenda Item C, Public Hearing, Request for Determination of Applicability, Peter Mazzola, 49 Country Club Road. Could you please introduce yourself for the record?
Peter Mazzola, Lorenzo Construction, looking for permission to have a 12 by 12 existing deck removed and replaced with a new one.
All right. Any questions or comments from the commission?
Exact same size, footings,
Yes.
everything?
Yes. Well, the footings are going to be replaced.
Okay.
Everything's going to be brought up to code. But other than that, 12 by 12 is
Same
staying the same footprint, yeah.
Yep.
How far away from the wetlands do you know
I
that?
think, was it 100 feet?
It is within 100 feet. It's also in a floodplain
Alright.
and within 200 feet of a river.
All right. But like you just said, same size and footprint?
Yes, I'm not changing the size,
All
yeah.
right.
Right, so technically replacing the existing.
Yes.
All right. Seems pretty standard. If there's no questions or comments from the commission, this is a public hearing, and if anybody would like to get up and make a comment, now's the time to do so. Not seeing anybody, could I have a motion to close this public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And could I have a motion for a negative determination of applicability as discussed at this meeting?
Just before I make that motion, do we need to read the special conditions?
Oh, yes, you were right. Let me,
I can read them if you want. The special conditions are install and maintain erosion and sediment controls, which shall include of a properly entrenched silt fence and/or straw stake wattles around the area of construction as to prevent the deposition of sediment and construction activities into nearby wetland resource areas. Erosion and sediment control shall remain in place until all areas of disturbed/loose soil and other erodible materials have been stabilized at the site. The second one, prior to any construction activities commencing, the following must be completed. Erosion and sediment control shall be installed by the applicant or an agent of the applicant, and the conservation shall inspect and approve of all installed erosion and sediment controls. And number 3, any dewatering necessary for the project, any dewatering necessary for the project shall be appropriately filtered before being discharged to the ground surface. The discharge from dewatered activities shall be at least 50 feet from the wetland edge, as far away from the wetland as practicable, and should not discharge into any local catch basins.
And if you're just replacing the footings with like footings, I'd be surprised if that's necessary, but if
Right.
you do need to, please dewater as appropriate. All right, could I have a motion for a negative determination of applicability for this applicant?
I'll make that motion as discussed.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very
Thank
much. Next item on the agenda is Agenda Item D, Public Hearing, Notice of Intent for BSC Group, Inc., on behalf of New England Power Company, 339/349 Transmission Line Row, DEP file number 305-1199. Could you please introduce yourself for the record?
Andrew Cole, environmental scientist at National Grid.
And where do we stand so far today?
As of today, the opposition letter that was submitted that we spoke about at the last hearing was pulled, was removed. We've resolved all aspects of the work on the abutters property at 1500 Shawshene Street. We've provided a letter responding to the third-party review of Bill, agreeing to everything. And I think last hearing, we kind of had gone through each of those elements. So I think as of today, I'm not aware of any outstanding items that are, I guess, not tied off and resolved.
All right. Is there any questions or comments from the commission?
No, what was the resolution to,
Basically, the abutter that submitted the opposition letter was on vacation when the information was received, and a mix-up of communication on what we submitted saying it was resolved, and that we moved the structure from the parking lot basically into the grassy area just south of the parking lot. Either, combination of him not seeing it, being on vacation, communicating to his counsel, who then submitted the letter. So at the end of the day, all of his requests to take it from where we need to locate into a parking lot into this grassy area, we basically in the field looked at the conflicts of overhead clearance, in-ground conflicts, and we can move it closer and get it out of the parking lot. So in terms of
so you're moving it in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Structure existing is being moved 10 feet ahead, still within the buffer. The only difference is not in a parking lot and the swale that we had spoken about before. We're just going to reconstruct it right around the new structure.
Makes sense.
Has the plan set been updated to reflect that?
Yes.
Okay.
And I just want to, I appreciate you working with the abutter. I just want to make it clear to the commission, if there's a letter of opposition in front of us, I think it's a good idea to, we just got the letter from their counsel, so we want to review it. I appreciate you, not being upset that we, continued the meeting.
Yeah.
But, just because there's a letter of opposition in front of us does not mean that we're not allowed to, vote on that permit and stuff. Anytime somebody wants to, appeal one of our decisions, it's after, the fact they don't get to just submit a letter and then we can't act on it. We very much can.
Yeah, I think it was the timing. It just ended up that letter came the day of that last hearing, and understandably, you guys hadn't seen it, so the content of it was largely stuff we had submitted in our application and addressed, so I can understand the butter being on vacation, and it's just the happenstance, so totally fine in terms of schedule-wise. It's recoverable, and just trying to work through that your questions are answered.
All right. So if there's no further questions from the commission, I will ask for this is a public hearing. If there's anybody from the public who would like to get up and make a comment, now is the time to do so. Not seeing anybody get up, could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And do I have a motion to approve the notice of intent as discussed at this meeting?
We have to read the special conditions.
Oh, I keep on forgetting the special
You
conditions.
can read this one.
All right, let me just,
1 through 8.
Yeah.
oh, I thought you were joking.
No. So I passed the bar?
I was gonna say, we got some oxygen out there.
All right. Proposed special conditions. Number one, once the work on the wetland replication is complete, seasonal monitoring of the wetland shall commence for a 2-year period, at which point it is determined that there is 75% plant coverage with wetland plants. Monitoring reports shall document plant coverage, species composition, note of any invasive species, species colonization, apparent hydrology, as well as contingency plans if sufficient plant coverage is not attained. Number two, a wetland scientist shall be present during the excavation of the replication area to designate the subgrade elevation as appropriate for the ecosystem. Number three, it is for the wetland scientist's discretion to fine-tune the final replication location as appropriate for the ecosystem. The applicant shall work closely with the conservation, this is number four, the applicant shall work closely with the Conservation Commission agent at the time of the wetland replication to assess the final replication location. Number five, remove all invasive species. Removal of all invasive species shall commence for the replication area in the modified upland buffer zone following the completion of the work and for the duration of the 2-year monitoring period. Number six, environmental monitors shall be on site daily to ensure appropriate erosion controls are installed and maintained and shall submit a report to the commission upon completion of the project. Number seven, install and maintain erosion and sediment controls, ESCs, which shall include of a properly entrenched silt fence and/or staked straw wattles around the area of construction as to prevent the deposition of sediment from construction activities into nearby wetland resource areas. ESCs shall remain in place until all areas of disturbed loose soil and other erodible materials have been stabilized at the site. And finally, number eight, prior to any construction activity commencing, the following must be completed. ESCs shall be installed by the applicant or an agent of the applicant, and the conservation agent shall install and approve of the installed ESCs. Anything seem out of the ordinary for that? No. And you will, of course, receive a copy of those. All right. Now that that's been read out, do we already close the public hearing?
Yes.
All right. Could I have a motion to approve the notice of intent as discussed at this meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
All right. Next item on the agenda, I do not see them here. This is an enforcement order for Jose de Oliveira and for 7765 Whipple Road, Assessors Map 31, Lot 57. Could I have a motion to continue that to the next available meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Next item on the agenda is agenda item F. This is also an enforcement order for Mike Robitaille, 58 Chucky's Way, Assessors Map 95, Lot 141. And we have two people recusing themselves from this, so we are at 3 commission members. Could you please introduce yourself?
Mike Robitaille.
Robitaille. All right, so my understanding of this is back in 2018, there was an enforcement order on this property. Part of that enforcement order required you to submit an RDA to basically complete the work as, per the wetland bylaw. And now we are back. You completed that work, it was approved, and now we're back because there was tree cutting that happened and a gravel driveway that's holding construction equipment. Is that correct?
There's a side next to my driveway in the front where the grass was horrible, so, yeah, there was already some crushed stone there originally, so I just made it bigger. I put a shed there, a little temporary, portable shed, and right now I do have some trucks here.
All right. So I guess how close, I'm not sure.
If I can say, the trucks, I had a landscape business. This year I sold it, and what's left is the equipment that still needs to get sold. So it's a temporary solution.
All right. Those will be off the property in the foreseeable future, though?
They're on the marketplace, yes, for sale. And then there is trailers there that I keep for personal boats and whatnot.
All right. And do you know how many trees were cut down?
I think there was probably 2 or 3 pine trees that were, they were dead. Again, the other gentleman that was here, complaining about trees falling on his house, these were 80-foot pine trees that were dead. I just had them topped, and I'm not going to let that fall on my house. I think you guys would agree with that.
Yeah, and typically, the way we would handle that is like either an emergency certification, in which if it was an immediate emergency, you'd be able to cut it down and then would approve it after the fact, or an RDA, in which we would require you to put erosion controls around the tree so nothing gets into the wetlands. Obviously, that's not possible to go back and put those erosion controls up.
The erosion control, I believe, is still there. It's probably decayed pretty good, but.
Yeah, if it's there from 2018, we would require
I think
new
those
erosion
trees were
controls.
cut down when I was doing this project. They've been cut for a while. I don't know who in the neighborhood's complaining, but those pine trees out front have been cut for a long time.
All right.
They weren't cut within there was 2, probably 3 years ago, before I even.
And I totally understand about,
Oh, okay.
it causing a hazard, but it's within 100 feet of the wetlands, and if, you're required to contact and get a permit through the commission.
Yeah, I was educated on that, yeah. Can we clarify before I leave where that 100-foot mark is, so anything further I want to do in my house, I know when?
So that's up to you to clarify. That would have to be a wetland scientist to come out and mark the border of the wetlands, and then it's 100 feet away from that is the jurisdiction that we have.
100 feet from, he did mark it
He marked it?
originally in 2018.
All right.
He came out and put the flags out, so you're saying I can go to any one of those flags in 100 feet, and anything within that area I need?
Correct.
Yes.
If I want to plant the bush, I gotta,
That is correct.
okay, so yeah, now I know, I didn't know. So, yeah.
All right, and so from, what has
I
changed
thought it was
since?
like 25 or 50, the buffer zone, but anyway.
Yeah, we do have we have 2 buffer zones, 25-foot no build, and 50-foot, or 25-foot no disturb, and a 50-foot no build buffer zone.
Yeah.
And those are essentially what they sound like.
Okay. I know beyond that, I need, like, the permission to do
Yeah,
anything.
anything within
really.
100 feet of a designated
Yeah.
resource area, we have jurisdiction. You have to come visit us. It's just the way it is.
So, yeah, all right, well, all right, now I know.
And just to be clear, that's not Tewksbury just deciding this, that's state mandated that
100
it's
feet.
required, yeah.
Okay.
So the bigger question, I think, is the gravel that's currently there. How much was added to that location?
How much gravel?
Or I think it's described as riprap and
It's
some
3/4
documents.
inch crushed stone.
It's what?
3/4 inch crushed
All
stone. There was probably 2 truckloads, so 40 ton.
All right.
Was it compacted at all? Or
The
just
soil underneath was compacted from the machine.
The
and
gravel
then-
on top?
Yeah, and then I've systematically rolled it and flattened it. I haven't took a roller or a plate compactor to it yet, but,
'Cause the more compacted it is, the less impervious it is, so if it's not compacted, it's, depending on the situation, it's just as pervious as soil sometimes, / more impervious, so.
I mean, I'll do whatever you guys recommend, but I honestly, I think if you're looking for concern about drainage going into the wetlands, that crushed stone's a better option.
Correct.
The grass
That's
can
what I
grow
was
there.
saying. The more compacted it is, the more it sheds off, but the less compacted it is, the more it'll just infiltrate into the ground.
It's,
We're just gonna ask you to leave it basically as is.
Yeah, like, don't compact it anymore. is
Don't
what-
compact it, you know.
yeah, no, it's just, it is what it is.
Correct.
It's
Yeah.
not-
Yeah,
So don't compact it, yeah.
I mean, that's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
You would rather it
I'd rather leave
stay
it.
there?
Right, then,
How, I guess I haven't seen a picture or seen a plan. I didn't have time to drive out there. How close is it to the wetland? Did you do a site visit, Abigail?
I did do a site visit. I just drove by. I didn't
Okay.
go onto the property. But according to kind of our GIS maps, the best estimate I can make is that it's about 51 feet away from the wetland.
Then yeah, I would leave it in place.
All right.
If it's roughly 50. If I was going to say we're getting closer to the 25 foot,
yeah.
then I would have more concerns, but if you're closer to
I'd be
50
concerned,
foot,
but 50 and we agree, we don't compact it, we just let it,
yeah.
let it kind of stay as it is.
All right. That's fine. I just, the more that the vehicles are parked there, the more compact it's going to get. So I guess the closure of this enforcement order depends on the vehicles not being there and no heavy, other heavy equipment.
Not being used as a driveway.
Yeah.
So again, I need to clarify, like, because right at the edge of my driveway, like, it's crushed stone over, so I can measure out 100, I can't use any of that for a driveway?
Well, we prefer you not, because then you're essentially crushing the, compacting the crushed stone, and that,
Yeah.
screws with the runoff.
I mean, I think if you just park normal vehicles, you'd be in better shape
Yeah.
than heavy
Well, I
use
mean, we're
vehicles.
just talking,
It's not-
I say a primary driveway, because we're already talking trucks, trailers,
Yeah.
construction equipment.
If you pull up.
I mean, are we talking cars, just normal passenger vehicles?
At some point, yeah, I want to just park there. And then, like, the trailers I have for the boats and stuff, I need I was parking them on the lawn never grew there, so,
All right.
To
I
just put
mean,
the crushed-
what do you think, Evan? What do you?
I mean, as long as there's no like plate or roller, I think that's really going to compact it. Will it get compacted over time with heavier vehicles? It will, but it's not going to be as dramatic in my opinion, just working with this. I think you would be fine as long as you don't intentionally try to compact it and you're just parking vehicles and boats and other
yeah.
equipment.
Honestly,
And like, if you have landscaping equipment, I wouldn't park full, like if it has soil or it has crushed stone in it that weighs it down, that type of stuff, I wouldn't park on that gravel surface.
right, okay.
And I don't know what the bylaw says, but if the driveways be expanded, that might run afoul of other bylaws of how much frontage you have. I'm not, that's not really,
Well, all right, well, there's a curb there. My driveway is, and then there's a curb that extends
there is a
out.
curb, all right.
So it just goes to the curb, it doesn't go to the street,
All right, so you have to go into the main
Over the
driveway
curb.
before you,
and then
All
there's
right.
crushed stone.
Okay.
all right. All right, so I guess what is the recommendation of the commission for closing this
I think
out?
we close it out per the verbal as discussed. I mean, I think removing the rock is a bad call. And now he's been educated on the 100 feet, so,
And no more gravel, crushed stone, anything like that added to that area?
Yeah, no, that's,
Without conservation
Yeah,
commission
without- yeah.
approval.
yeah.
If you wanted to do something, you have to come back before us, like we discussed.
all right, 100 feet, okay. At some point, I would like to get rid of the pine trees that were just kind of topped, and then there's, again, a lot of those dead trees that are in there that have fallen already.
Correct.
Is that something I gotta fill out paperwork to?
Yeah, you'd have to submit an RDA. It would be similar to this, would review it, and as long as you mark out the areas would require you to do erosion controls and stuff like that, but you'd be able to, most likely you'd be able to take some.
Yeah, it'd be similar to the conversation we had about 20 Susan Drive, the gentleman that came in earlier, where pretty much just understanding what you're doing and understanding the limits of work, and that would pretty much be it.
All right, sounds good.
All right, I guess could I have a motion to close this enforcement order as discussed at this meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've done all the tough work.
All right. Did he just leave? Did Dennis?
Yeah, he's
All
going
right.
to leave it after that.
Dennis left.
All right, he left. All right, so we are back to a four-person quorum. Last item on the agenda is Agenda Item G, Emergency Certification for 63 Emerald Court, Assessors Map 48, Lot 79. This is for the removal of a single birch tree. Abigail, could you fill us in on any?
Evil birch tree?
So
Did I say evil? I meant single.
there's one birch tree on the property that is kind of overhanging her deck. And the woman was concerned that it would be a safety issue both to her and cause damage to her property. There's a letter from Sylvan Associates that said that it was a dangerous tree, and it's just an emergency certification for that one tree.
Any questions or comments about this single tree and this ratification? Not hearing any, could I have a motion to ratify the emergency certification?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right, old business, new business, and admin reports. I believe, Linda, you have, you want to bring up.
Can we get an update on Ames Hill? We were told there was going to be tree
Yes.
planting in June.
Do you have a update?
Yes, I do have an update. So they have been working towards that goal, and their estimate for when that will be complete is by very early fall.
And they're having trouble sourcing the correct size trees and stuff? Is that still?
I believe that was the issue. I just got a very brief rundown.
All right. Yeah, so I mean, like, my understanding is he's still within the original permit application window. So he's agreed to stuff. It sounds like he's working towards it. So hopefully we will see additional trees being planted there in the near future.
He is within his permits.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, anything else before I ask for a motion to adjourn? Not hearing anything, could I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well.
That's my favorite part of it.
Next meeting is July,
August.
August, yeah, this is July 17th, August 14th. All right.